Today on the podcast, I'd like to welcome Sonia and Dhawan. They're the founders of 100 Hands, an NGO and charitable organization. The issue that 100 Hands is trying to solve in your mind, is it primarily an issue of marketing, opportunity, or skill? And I ask that question in a slightly different way as well. I think often there are unknown karigars all over. So if you look at the Indian brands, if you look at the Pashmina shawl or the Banarasi sari, we don't know who's made these things. And if you contrast that with some of the most famous brands, luxury brands in the world, they came from karigars. So if you look at the Hermes brand from the saddles or the tailors of Naples, what are we missing? What are the challenges that our karigars are facing?
That's a very, very relevant, to the point question really. I think there isn't any doubt about the skill of our Indian karigars, especially the ones who have, been at a particular craft across generations. The work is fantastic, but the biggest gap really that exists is a combination of opportunity and understanding of the customer. When I say understanding of the customer, it's also access to the customer. For example, a very, very high-end, high net worth individual and a very skilled karigar, the opportunity for them to come together, to interact and to be able to exchange ideas or their work are few and far between in India. And I think if you look at it historically, there have been, the traders that have come in and have actually seized an opportunity on one side of actually bridging the market gap. And that's something that is a legacy that has continued. What you mentioned about the unknown karigar, I think that's exactly where the problem is. We still have a proprietariness in people who are bridging this gap. The expression that both Sonia and I cringe about is an expression, ye mera karigar hai. So there is that whole sense of proprietariness. There is also a sense of keeping somebody behind the scenes. And it's, their justification of that is that it's business.
I think one of the first things that when we had, in fact, our first event, our first bazaar, was the Sanji paper cutting.
Okay.
That there were these guys who just cut freehand, and they cut murals and animals and birds and everything. And in the north, I would say, Delhi and all, at least the skill is known a little bit. It comes from Rajasthan. But in the south, it was like people were, their eyeballs were popping out seeing these guys. Actually, we'd say, can you cut a parrot? And he would, with this little, what looked like a nail scissor, he would take a piece of handmade paper and talking to you, he'd give you the cutout of the parrot and the stencil or the, cutout, the piece of the parrot in a single piece cut out in paper.
So to that extent, and some of the most interesting or expensive things that I've seen relative to the skill, right? You go to an LV showroom or you go to an Hermes showroom and they'll have some random paper cutting or a book or an art, so-called art piece that, that'll be priced at a certain number. And knowing your background, and we'll get into that in a little bit, is that then just a case of not being able to market those things at all? And so if that paper cutting had a certain logo at the end of it or was formed into a book and sold in a certain showroom, would it then not sell if it's not replicable, or if we feel that it is at a certain skill level that is very difficult for a normal person to do? Then is it just an issue of marketing and branding in your mind?
I think it is a lot to do with marketing and branding. There are very, very high-end things that are sold. It's not that they're not available, but they're not sold by the artisan directly. So that's where the gap is. So he would sell it for, say, X, but the consumer would be spending 100x sometimes. But I would say 90% of it is the marketing.
Is it a cultural thing? Do Indians celebrate karigars the amount that we should? In the sense that from a cultural standpoint, I've never heard anybody make famous the first or the best pashmina shawl maker, or somebody who makes the Madhubani paintings. In fact, even in those segments, we would prefer to praise the location rather than, you know.
And say it has a GI tag.
Sure, exactly right. So is that more a cultural thing? Are we willing to then, and you mentioned that my karigar or, you know, things like that. Is that then the case of, as a nation or as a culture, we're not willing to give due to the maker of the event, and therefore they don't get famous?
I think that's, maybe it's a bit of the feudal system also that's been passed down.
Because I'll give you an example, right? Like, art is very subjective, right? But oftentimes art is sold by the fame of the artist, right? So in his lifetime, maybe a Van Gogh wasn't known, and then he gets famous, and therefore his paintings get famous. Or to take an Indian context, and I'm not great at art selection, it's like with everything, if you know it, you like it. So if you look at a Hussain, you really like it, but maybe without the cult or without the brand that he created for himself, it may not have reached these levels. So, you know, is there any artisan that I can't think of one? Designers, yes, you have a bunch of Indian designers, clothing and otherwise, who have been able to create a brand for themselves. But I can't think of too many artisans. So is that what is missing? That they're not able to then create a brand for themselves, which can then push their product, and therefore everybody in their field?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of our key philosophies at 100 Hands is to be able to help karigars build their own brands, and therefore then they have a choice whether they want to go through a middleman or whether they want to go through a designer. So I think it's all about an opportunity and a choice if they are able to do that. But having said that, as a brand as well, it's not purely marketing. A lot of it is, you know, it's the customer at the core of it. So there has to be some guidance, even from a design perspective, and you know, access to the customer, of course, but more from making the product maybe more contemporary, and for them to be able to think design as well. Because many of our karigars, there is a sense of, we know how to do this and we will continue to do it, because we are not even interacting with the customer. But the minute I interact with the customer, then I understand consumer insights. Then I understand, you know, okay, fine, if I go into a building like this and go to one of the homes, I could probably see one of my own paintings there. And I don't even understand the context of it, and suddenly then the world changes. You know, so I think that it's a mixture of things. It's not just great marketing. It's you know, the product, understanding
exposure
the context,
also of the
exposure.
And to that extent, you guys have been trying to do that now for a few years. I believe the first concept of this came about when you did an event in your own garden. Can you walk us through how some of this started, and why did you feel that this exposure was critical for you guys to give?
Yeah, well, we really started, you know, seeing people try to sell their products in their own home surroundings, in the rural surroundings, which was really when we started off with foods, visiting small bazaars where people were selling local foods and, you know, their local kashaya powders and sambar powders and things. And sales were not happening. So we told them that you guys need to come to the city, because people are starving and, you know, wanting these things. So they said, we can't afford it, we don't know where to go, who are these people we'll call, you know. So the first time we said, okay, you come and use our garden. We don't have a big garden, but we said, you come and use the garden, and we'll call family and friends. And those days there was no mobile and things like that. But we said, come, and they did. So we made handmade posters and we put it up in little, you know, shops that we knew and things. And it was to be, I think, a 3-day event, if I'm not mistaken. And by the end of the first day, they were sold out. You know, they couldn't believe it. So there were all these frantic phone calls, and more stuff arrived. And then, you know, overnight it came on the train and all. And so that's how we really started. And then they wanted to keep selling. They said, you know, this is magic for us.
Well, was it a whim to do it? Did you
No,
guys
we were
plan?
part of a women farmers group.
Okay.
And we were helping a friend, a classmate of mine, who was, it was a seed saving program. But alongside the women who were part of the seed savers, were making their own products.
Okay.
And we went on a visit and we said, my God, these are such interesting products, you know.
Yeah.
We ourselves felt like once removed, oh, we didn't know this, and oh, this was so interesting, and oh, this amber powder is very different from what you get in the city. And
Yeah.
I used to work in brand strategy.
Sure.
And at that point in time, I was consulting for some big brands. And that was my whole life, work life, certainly.
And so when you take that as a background, right? How many years, if you don't mind me asking, did you do brand strategy or marketing?
So I used to be in advertising,
Yeah.
and then I moved into brand strategy since 19.
Long time ago.
Long time ago.
Long time ago.
But that knowledge, did you immediately feel like that is something that you could, all that years of knowledge is something that you could use to help these people?
Yeah, absolutely. It came very instinctively.
Okay.
You know, you can see somebody struggling. They have a fantastic product, and they're just not being able to sell it.
Yeah.
So it just comes instinctively. I think if you're a brand person or a marketing person,
Correct.
You want to do something. You want to give unsolicited advice to everyone on how to sell their product and what they should do. And here was this group who were completely helpless, and we just wanted to help them. So, you know, it was as simple as that.
Was that something both of you wanted to do? So you know, the marketing was one half of the 100 Hands
Yeah,
formation.
I'm basically a life science person.
Okay.
I've done human genetics as my specialization, and I worked for it for several years. Also, I was at a crossroad at that moment because for personal reasons, and I was wondering what to do. I'm doing a little bit of freelance work, but I was wondering what to do at that time, and you know, we were meeting friends and looking around as to what all could be done, and we came by this occasion, this group of women really, who started us off on the journey of 100 Hands, and it was so enjoyable. First, watching the joy and the fun that these ladies had, the friends and family who came visiting I can't even call it a bazaar, it was like a little, you know, a homegrown tables and chairs we just put in our garden, and those people saying, where have you been hiding these people? You know, some ladies were even trying to do seed jewelry and little murals out of seeds.
Our larger vision, if you were to call it that, because the journey has kind of evolved.
Yeah.
You know, so just to take you through some milestones, you know, to give you a sense. So this garden bazaar was happening. It was fun and games. Then Sonia and I were kind of veering while we were learning all these. This was a learning. There were people arriving with the most fascinating things. And we said, oh, wow, how interesting. And of course, half the things we used to buy because we had never seen stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at some point in time, we said, you know, there were some 20 groups that suddenly were kind of arrived. So we said, let's formalize it. And we were going to have this once a year little bazaar in our garden, but we instinctively said that because we want the groups who are making it to be front facing, we'll set it up as a charitable trust. So we had no idea what a charitable trust entailed. We just knew that we didn't want to run it as a business so that we would be dependent on it full time. So we set it up as a trust. And while this whole journey that was going on of having this once a year kind of showcase, because during the year, all kinds of interesting people were contacting us. Somebody from Kashmir, someone from Kerala, someone from, I mean, some village in somewhere, you know, they were. But one of the things that was very fascinating for us was this whole concept of working with your hands, you know. So when we kind of pulled back, we said, yes, you know, supporting the artisan groups is a crucial part of what we do. But also, I think very instinctively, creating by hand was something that we were all feeling that was getting lost, you know.
Okay.
And my son at that time was, I think, 13 or something.
We insist that the artist interacts with the customer and, you know, gets an idea what the customer is looking for, tells the customer what went into it, try and do a little demo, tells the customer, would you like to try this?
So any sort of interesting events or stories around an artist and customer in your mind that you know that come to your mind immediately?
We've had lots of workshops.
Yeah.
I mean, we like the artists to keep having workshops as well, and you know, make the customer or the, you know, person who's attending the workshops, put them in a bit of a spot sometimes, to show how difficult it is. I mean, something as simple as block printing, you know, the different techniques. It's not that you've just chapoed it. You've got to get the right texture, you've got to get the right pressure. So
that's a very interesting thing, because some of us are so uneducated that I would not be able to tell, frankly, the difference between, you know, the best block painting person ever and an average guy and maybe a beginner.
You might not be able to tell what is block printed or screen printed.
Correct.
Yeah.
To the marketing point or the branding point, right? I think that is one of the things that maybe being as disconnected as we are, brands help in. So if, for example, you were to go to Banaras and there was some way where you could tell that within that city, these are the 3 best karigars to make a sari. There's 7,000 to 8,000 artisans that kind of you guys work with that benefit directly?
It's about 15,000 actually.
15,000 artisans,
it's about,
right?
Because, you know, most of the artisan groups work in clusters.
Okay.
And we were kind of just doing some archiving, and I think they've been close to about 500 clusters across over the years who have come through 100 hands at some point in time. And at any given point in time, there are about 200 groups for that year that are chosen. And an average would be about 50 to 100 people.
You said 15,000 artisans, a bunch of clusters, groups. How do you select, you know, what does it mean to be a part of 100 hands? What's that vetting process like for somebody?
Okay, so now we have started. Earlier it was, you know, whoever we met and we liked the work, they came and participated. But now we get so many applications or phone calls, and we meet so many people. So we've started what is called a membership program. So we have a slightly more formal system where you apply. Either we can send it to you, or sometimes we put it online, and you apply to us to be a member. So there are various criteria. You have to give us your skill and your craft and how long you've been doing it, and what is unique, what is contemporary about it, what is traditional. Do you help others? Do you have is there any charitable aspect to it? Are you making a living from it? And various other questions. And so everyone applies, and then we go through it with a fine-tooth comb to see, because I mean, last year we had I think about 1,500 or 1,600 applications, and we can only select 200 or 300 from there. So we have a little advisory board, we have a selection committee, and we go through it with a fine-tooth comb, seeing the level of skill, whether they are willing to teach others, whether they can do workshops, and have they attended bazaars before, what is their experience with customers. So we try and get, you know, the ones who are really backward but who are very skilled or who have potential, we try and get a certain number of those also to, expose them to the
When you say research, that you guys do research or you test them with a fine-tooth comb, what does that entail from your end?
Well, sometimes we even try and meet them.
That is Sonia doing hours and hours and hours and hours of research on each of them and gleaning out all the facts to figure out whether they're genuine or not.
Is that something you enjoy doing?
Yes, I do. To see, one is you learn about the person.
Sure.
You learn about the craft. You learn about the level of skill, and what things they tweak, and how they can come up with new ideas.
Your background is in science, I believe.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah.
Is that the same rigor that you have kind of brought on to
Yes.
Yes, I think I'm the bane of the selection committee because I keep trying to gouge. I just need all the information to see whether. I mean, it's very sad that we can't take all 1,500 or 1,600 people who've applied. And one of the other things that we can get a lot of help with would be to contribute to our Denim project.
Okay.
Which it's a large recycling project, which we recycle old jeans and make it into utility products.
Okay.
So in fact, I think, do we have a, yeah. So this is one of the products that we have.
So when you say recycled jeans, is this so is this something you pick up from what people throw away, or do they send it to you?
We usually ask for contributions.
Okay.
From corporates or even groups of friends or apartment blocks and things, and also to give us corporate orders, which is able to sustain the project.
So they send you old jeans?
They send us old jeans, which we process right from the sorting and cleaning and hygiene aspect to making it into utilitarian products. For
and that could be a bag or it could be anything.
Yes, it could be a bag. It could be even rugs. We've done beautiful rugs.
Okay, great.
And jackets, but primarily bags and laptop cases, things like that.
And how would someone get in touch with 100 Hands? Is there a website? Is there a...
yeah, we're quite active on Instagram.
Okay, perfect.
100 Hands with 3 words.
Yeah, so we'll put that numbers. Up on the screen when people are watching, so they can just contact you and then you can help them.
Yeah, the project actually started with the psychiatric patients at the mental hospital, Handmade in Bangalore. The idea was part of it to be both therapy as well as vocational training.
So who makes the bags?
So right now we've developed a few groups who've been trained. Because it's a tough thing. I mean, there are 22 different processes to be able to create it, and you really need to be trained in bag making as well. So these are groups that we've now set up. But the idea is that anyone, I mean, especially the patients at Handmade, could earn even from the washing or, and there are people, underprivileged people who can actually work from the ripping. So any process you can come into.
Got it.
So anyone who, even corporates are looking at a CSR initiative, could support this
great.
as well.
So that's Instagram, 100 Hands.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will put that up as well. So thank you guys so much for giving us your time. Hope you enjoyed it. I love the conversation.
Very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so refreshing actually to have somebody from, a business background to be able to dumb it down for us in that sense and have a nice, interesting conversation. We've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Great.